Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. We are so excited to talk to one of our fresh starts experts today who also has a new book out that I'm personally very excited for. So Myisha, introduce yourself and then let's jump into it.
Hi, my name is Myisha Battle. I'm a clinical sexologist and dating coach, and I work individually with people who want to improve their sex life, and I also work with couples.
Amazing. So you just wrote and now it is out. I'm gonna show for our clip here.
Yeah.
Sexual Pleasure for Dummies, which is part of the OG Dummies brand of books, which is really, really fucking cool. So let me just say
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Thank you.
So why sexual pleasure for dummies? Where did this come from?
Yeah, well, I created a book proposal that initially was called Better Sex. So the idea really at the core was always to help people have better sexual experiences, regardless of whether they're single or partnered. So I wanted to really bring that spirit into the For Dummies book because they do have Sex for Dummies, which was written, several editions were written by Dr. Ruth. But they wanted something that was a little bit more of like a 301 to that 101. And that's kind of my specialty. I love helping people figure out what their options are, learn how to, explore toys. So it's really meeting people on the ground floor of what did they not learn about sexual pleasure in any sex ed that they may have had. And then also, if they did pick up that Dr. Ruth 101 book, what are kind of the next steps to being a good person, a whole person who gets to experience the whole range of sexual pleasure that's available to us.
First of all, did anybody learn sexual pleasure in sex ed? Because I certainly
No.
didn't, but I went to a Quaker high school, so I'm pretty sure they weren't going to teach us that. Um,
Right.
but okay, so take us through this book because as you're talking, I'm laughing, thinking you would think sexual pleasure is so innate, but it's not for most people.
Yeah. Yeah, I think because and I talk about this in the book, a lot of people get meaning about sex told to them. They don't get to create their own meaning around sex. So those meanings can vary from, sex is procreative, which is what most of us learn in sex education. We really get, baby making 101 and STI prevention 101. And it's a lot of messages about don't do it. So when we're younger, we have all of this, don't do it. And if you're doing it, it's for this purpose. That's the meaning of it. But then we have these raging hormones that tell us otherwise that, kind of drive us towards other people and experiences. And we're not equipped really at that stage to have conversations about what we like or want to explore. We're not really equipped with consent. And I think things are getting better. I do think that consent education broadly, not even applied on a sexual level, is getting more integrated into kids' education. But I know I certainly didn't. And so there's a lot of fumbling around. There's a lot of gendered expectations, which I talk about in the book, that create dynamics that are less than ideal. I talk about the orgasm gap and how that's, been an enduring part of sexual experiences for a lot of women, where we're usually less likely to have an orgasm than our male counterparts if we're having straight sex. But we really don't see that play out in homosexual experiences to the same degree. So something's going on there, right? And I think people have that sense of like, oh, I don't know what I don't know, right? But they don't really have a place to go to get that information. And that's what I was hoping this book would be for.
Something that came up recently in one of the conversations I had with another divorce professional was that a lot of women in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, we'll say, are going through relationship changes, right? They're maybe going through divorce, long term breakup. And my friend used the term a cougar puberty. They're going through cougar puberty.
Yes.
So, what is the relationship between sexual pleasure and learning it and the importance of this book for women kind of in that perimenopausal space?
First of all, I love cougar puberty. I think it's fantastic. And it's such a good reframing of perimenopause and menopause, which are often referred to as reverse puberty, which is, it conjures up loss, right?
Yeah.
And anytime there's a reframing where we can talk about things from a positive, because I have seen it play out this way. I've seen it, of course, play out in negative ways where people do feel a lot of grief at changes in their libido and changes to their body, etc. But as you mentioned, there's a lot of women out there who are capitalizing on the fact that maybe they don't have to do as much family planning. There's not a need for birth control if you're not having a period anymore. There's a sense of freedom in being older and knowing what you want, and also being able to take risks and absorb those risks more easily. I think as young women, taking risk was, going to impact us forever and ever, an unplanned pregnancy, all these things, right? So being older, wiser, more in control, more financially secure, like in a lot of cases, these work to our advantage in dating relationships because you have a different standard for what you're looking for. And also, when you have entered that stage of life where you're not thinking about settling down, your criteria for partnership is very different. So I've really enjoyed working with people in this phase of life who are really open, and they're also like looking back with some regrets about not exploring themselves, not exploring sexual relationships with different people, perhaps. And so they're really excited and like energized and scared and all the things. And it's actually a really fun time to work with people because there's so much opportunity.
Absolutely. There is a big difference. I know from me personally, being in my early 20s and dating and thinking, I have to meet the person I'm going to have kids with, opposed to now. And it's like, I just get to go have fun. Like,
Yeah.
this is great. Um,
And if it's
what,
not
yeah,
fun, move
then
on,
move
right?
on.
It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
no love lost
Absolutely.
there.
Nope. I got everything else I need.
Yeah.
Um, what about people that are like nervous to pick up this book, Myisha?
I really hope that they thumb through the first few pages and get a sense of who I am as an author and as a coach, and know that there's like nothing scary about devoting time and energy to understanding yourself better. There are exercises in the book to do. You can skip around, you can skip chapters that feel a little bit scary to you in the moment. I highly encourage that, but I also encourage people to consider why they might be skipping certain material. So there's definitely an invitation in the introduction to use the book as you feel like you can use it now, and then leave everything else behind. But sex is a scary topic. And I think to like humanize the experience, that it's not just you who doesn't know the things that you don't know. It's pretty much everybody. Like when it comes to sex, we are all dummies. And that's kind of by design. That takes the individual responsibility out of it and hopefully invites a little bit of curiosity. So I know for me, I'm often the first stop when people have questions about sex that they won't even Google. I'm hoping that this book fills that gap for people where, they can have a resource if they can't work with me to get the information that they're hoping to get, and to have those aha moments of, oh, this is what I was missing. This is why this experience felt off to me. This is where I need to focus my energy. And maybe there are additional resources that I need for this phase of my exploration. And I'm all for that.
And you made a really good point that people may not even Google this stuff, but now they at least have a book that they can use, which is kind of a analog way of supporting people, and I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that. Okay, so tell us just real quick, kind of the overall framework of this book, what people can expect when they buy it.
Yeah, I'm hoping they can expect a fun read, a quick read, one that feels really supportive and again, like gives you that information that you've always felt was missing, but didn't really know where to go to look for the answers. The topics range from how to choose a sex toy to different types of masturbation styles to hormone changes and how those impact our sexual functioning. to embracing, you know, props and, toys, of course, but also things that help our bodies just feel better during sex. I think there's like, we're willing to invest so much in every hobby that we do, every like thing. We've got a set of equipment that we use, and sex can be that too. So, you don't have to linger with back pain and be like, oh, I'm out of the game. I can't have sex anymore because my back hurts. Like, there's ways that you can enhance your sexual experience. A big section that I hope a lot of women feel called to is a section on pain, because I work with a lot of women who experience pain during sex. And it's very difficult to access pleasure when you're experiencing pain, unless it's the kind of sexual pain that you want that brings you pleasure. That's a totally different conversation, which is also touched on in the book. But yeah, it's really important for people to have this sort of survey of the land of sexual pleasure so that they can kind of pick and choose what areas need to be addressed, and also realize that like maybe not everything will be applicable now. Maybe the first thing that you want to do is work on the pain, and then you want to add the toys or add the lube or add, any number of things. So yeah, that's basically it. I really love in chapter 1 the just exploration of our pleasure anatomy, because that's something that is very, very much misunderstood, missing in sex education. And I label it as pleasure anatomy because most of these parts are really about pleasure and sensation. And we need to focus on them regardless of who we're having sex with, if that's ourselves or other people. These are the areas that increase arousal, that help us to get deeper into pleasure, get us more into our bodies, less in our heads, which I know is a big problem for a lot of people. So yeah, those are the things I'm really excited about.
I love it. I love that it's just so like you're taking a class. Like there's no
Yeah.
agenda here. It's just like you and you get to study this. It's really important for people. If somebody reads this and then they're like, I want to work with Myisha, what kind of services do you offer?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned before, I work individually with people. So, if you're in that life transition stage and you're thinking, yeah, this sounds fun, I'd love to explore this more, but it is really scary, that's where I come in for sure. I also work with couples. So, if there's issues with sexual communication, if it feels like every time you want to bring up sex, it's a fight or tension, that's absolutely something that I can help you with. And then, yeah, I love clients that are just like, I don't have an agenda. I just really want to know, how to experience more pleasure in my sex life. And boy, howdy, can we work on that together?
Love that. And you work on Zoom, so anybody
Yeah,
can work with
worldwide.
you.
Yeah.
Worldwide, everybody. Well, we're so excited about this Sexual Pleasure for Dummies by Myisha Battle. Myisha, we appreciate you, and we can't wait for everybody to pick up this book because it truly is essential reading. And so if you're interested, you can go buy this wherever books are sold. This is a For Dummies book. And if you can't find it, reach out to us and we will make sure to send you a link. As always, it's a pleasure to talk to you and
Yeah, you
congrats. This is
do.
very important. And your devoted passion for helping people find their passion is so clear. And, people underestimate the relationship between sexual pleasure and everything else in their life. And
Yeah.
that's, I think, what you are so devoted to. So thank you so much for the work you do.
Thank you, Olivia.